lesson number 1 from the Millinery and Business Academy. This lesson is all about blocks. I'm just going to explain to you about different blocks that I've got, different blocks that you might want to purchase if you haven't already, and if you don't have any blocks at all, what you can do about it. So this is the crown block. This is the most important one. You can get a lot from this. So you can, block, and then you can create lots of different shapes. You can have a cut down the middle, so you have 2 sides. You could have a teardrop shape, and you could have a point coming up the back. A few of my hats around here, the bases that are underneath, they're actually made from this, and they have points and things coming up the back, which then you can attach feathers to the back here, or things shooting out from the front. I have one up here actually, which is made with twigs, and this piece at the back here, you can see that is actually sticking up slightly, and that is made from this one. And then we've made this extra piece from my big large brim block. So this one's really important. This one is a 22 inch, and when you make a hat from a block, normally all the hats that are in the shops are 22 inches. But if you're making for a client, then you'll have to figure out what size they are by measuring their head, which means measuring from here just above the eyes, just above the eyebrow, sorry, right around the back. You've got a bump on the back of the head, so you put your tape measure around there and back round to the front, and then you can measure your client's head size, and then you need to work out what block to use, because if you're putting a crown piece, which is this, together with another piece, which is your brim piece, which might be made from this, you'll lose about ½ inch when you put the two together. So then you need to start with a block that's a bit bigger than what you're going to end up with. They might have a small head, they might be 21.5 like me, they might be 22, they might be 22.5, so then you can work out what size you need. But if you're making a headpiece, it doesn't matter, so you don't have to worry about that. So something like this is just going to sit on the side of the head, and we don't need to worry about if it's 22 inch or 21 inch. So if you're just making these, you can get a 22 inch and stick to that. But if you think you might be making for clients with different head sizes, and you're making a whole sort of mother of the bride style, then I would get a 22.5 inch. I get most of my hat blocks from Guy Morse Brown, and he does a lot of multi-blocks as well. So they hand make them all. They're a brilliant company. And he normally sells his blocks at 22.5 inches, unless you tell him otherwise. So this one here is a 22.5 inch, and this is a multi-block. With this one here, we purchased one base, one stand, one piece here, which is extra, and then we have about 4 different tops to put on. And this is a multi-block because it actually separates here, and you've got 2 screws here. So you can unscrew it, you can take off this bit if you want a shallower crown. You can also put these extra pieces on top to make a whole one. So that on top there is the same as that there. But then I can take this off, and I can put a slightly different one on with a little bit of a lip to it. So then you can have different shapes. So it's a little bit better value if you buy that for your first time, so you've got 4 different tops, than if you just buy one, which you can't do anything with. Also, you can get them from eBay, you can get vintage hat blocks. I have another nice brown one here, if you can see that, which is vintage. I'll just get that one out for you. This one was given to me by a milliner when I worked for her, Catherine Delaney, who's a great milliner. And this is lovely. This must be over 100 years old, this one. So it's a really nice, solid block. This one has actually got a groove in it as well, because in the old days they'd use a lot of rope to keep the fabric down. So then you put your rope around, pull it tight, and it would go into the groove here. But now we use a lot of elastic bands and hat pins, so we don't need so many of the grooves. Like on this one, this is a little bit more modern, this one. And this one you can tell the back because it's got the cross, and then it's a little bit more of a different shape. Can you see that? It's got a bigger bit at the back than it has at the front. So these are the crown blocks, and it's called crown because it sits on the crown of your head here. So those are really good and important. You can also use these sections separately, so you could use this for a bit of a pillbox and just block and put your fabric underneath here, your cinnamon or parasize or whatever you're using. This one here is for a cloche. So this one I bought just in case I was ever making cloches, because then I could make a short cloche with this, or I could put my extra piece, which I've got there, here, and then make that much deeper and just screw them together. Always make sure that your sizes are the same, because this is 22.5 inch, these are all 22.5, this is 22.5, this is 22.5. So I can put all of these bits together and all be the same size for joining. And also with your brims, if you're making a 22.5, then this must be a 22.5 as well. But if you're making a 22, then just make sure they're all the same, they're all 22s. So I tend to use the 22 just for my headpieces, and if I want to make a whole Mother of the Bride one, I'll always stick to my 22.5, so I'm not having to buy double. And then I can always rearrange it, so if they have a slightly different head size, then I can put something inside to make it smaller, or if they have a bigger head size, I could put felt on this to stretch it out before I block on it. So there are always ways around it, so you don't have to double up on your blocks. You just want one lot, which is going to enable you to make a Mother of the Bride if you need to. This is a Trilby block. This is great, like a toilet seat. So this one creates, you can put the felt on here, stretch this over, and then it creates the nice sort of lip at the back on the men's hats and the pointy bit on the front. So that's another one which we'll learn in another module, how to make trilbies. So that would be joined together maybe with something like this, or an actual trilby crown, and put those two together. So this is a brim, because this is the bit that sticks out of a hat. The crown is this bit and the brim is the extra bit which comes out the bottom of a hat. So for instance, this hat here, this is my crown and this is my brim that comes out. This one here is one of my most important blocks. This one here is my large brim block. So this side here is for my Mother of the Bride hats, so I can actually put a crown on here. You can see that resembles a big large summer hat or Mother of the Bride hat. So I would block this separately, and then I would put my fabric on here and block this as well. Just go over it again. Blocking it's called that because this is a block, this is a block, and you're putting fabric on it, so you're blocking the fabric on the block. So that's why they call it. So I could take this off and I could have a flat top instead, as you can see. The other side, because this is a multi-block, is fantastic. So I use this a lot. Maybe you could use this for a big Camilla brim if you want to do that. But I make a lot of my sculptural pieces from this. So where are they? This one, for instance, this piece here was made from this. This hat here, bit of a sculptural piece, was also made from here. So I stretch my fabric over the whole thing and then I complete it and form it into the shape that I want. So I do that a lot. I do a lot of free-forming cinema. I wouldn't necessarily have the block made for that particular hat. I would be blocking it on a flatter block like this, seaming it, moulding it into a shape and putting the curves in and putting the pleats in. You can see pleats in there, and actually creating all the shapes that way. This one here, another one, more of a My Fair Lady piece. Can you see that? This one has been pleated up feathers, so this has been made from this. I stretch all the fabric over it and then I've pleated it into the shape that I want, using steam and water and then wiring it and edging it and everything else. So this is more of an ascot hat. Okay, so this is my brim, and this is my crown. Going to the smaller blocks, this one here I'm very lucky to have. It's a Frederick Fox block. This came through a friend of mine went to an auction and she bought a lot of Frederick Fox blocks, and she very kindly let me have this one, which is beautiful and I love it. So that one I keep very, very safe, and I will block a hat on that at some point. So I just love this curve that's going on here. This is made from buckram, I should say. Sorry, this is not made from European wood. This is actually it's European lime wood, which most of the blocks are made from. But this is made from buckram, which is much stiffer fabric. Some of it sometimes looks a little bit like cinema if it's thinner, but you can get different grades of it. And it's more of a heavier fabric and it's got a lot of glue in it. So then when you put it together and you block it, it stays like this, but also this has been lacquered and it's been painted as well to keep it. So you could break this if you were, you know, not delicate with it. So you have to be quite good and quite delicate with that. This one here is another one with buckram, which hasn't been painted as much as that one, and you can see the buckram inside there. So this one, it's hard, and this one, you can see that, would be more of a beret style big piece. Kate Middleton wore something like this, but a smaller version of this, so not quite as big as that. So that's another one, that's a nice one. And there's a couple of smaller ones here. So this is an interesting shape. So that one. This one is very hard to block. I have blocked it on this one, Minnie Mouse. So that one is this one. Took hours and probably never do it again, but it's very small, it's very lovely, but it's just, it's fine. No, it's fine really, I'm only joking. But that you just want to be able to smooth your fabric down in here, and you want to pull it tight without pulling this away, pulling this up. So that one, and then this one is a flatter button block. This one's a baby button block, which I love. And this one here is very interesting as well. I tend to do a lot of things with this. And this one lastly is another brim block. So I just love this. I just love looking at blocks. I think they're so pretty. A lot of people buy them just to put in their houses. So if you see anybody doing that, then ask if you can have it off them and you can use it. So, you know, you can get them off of eBay, like I say, and you can get them in auctions and things like that. And they're just beautiful to have. There are also companies that hire hat blocks, so I'll put that into the notes so you can actually go to that company and hire the hat block if you want to. They can come out and deliver it to you, or you can collect it. So that way, if you want to do different blocks, you know, you use different blocks and you don't have to purchase them all. Now, if you haven't got any blocks at all and you think, what am I going to do? I don't have anything, Catherine, I can't make anything. You could start off with just using the tabletop, maybe your kitchen tabletop, which is a flat surface, if you need a flat brim, or if you want to make a sort of sculptural hat, then because flat surfaces are great for then moulding them up. That's what we're going to go on to in the Ascot hat class. If you want one of these crowns, then you can always use a polystyrene head and paper mache that, and then you can put your pins into that when you're keeping the shape. This sort of thing, but if you can get that in polystyrene, then you could use that. Not recommending that you use that all the time. I'm just saying if you haven't got anything at all and you want to get started before you buy the blocks and you're waiting for them to arrive, then get a polystyrene head, paper mache it so it's a little bit stronger. Don't spray it ever because it will disintegrate. I've done that before. And then you can use that and you can put your pins into that because you're just making a headpiece, so you don't need to cover the whole thing. Also, I've used things like wax, so I've got a kitchen wok and I've sprayed it inside the spray foam, the sort of orange spray foam that you put in holes in your house if the builders are in. You use that, put it all into the middle of the wok, put cling film in first to protect the wok, put that in, and then when it's dry you can shave off the bit that you don't need and lift it out, and then you've got a bit of a brim like this. So that could be used as your brim block just for a few times. You can also paper mache it. I use the bottom of old coffee pots, I use plates, I use mugs, I make little top hats from little coffee lids upside down. I've used sort of funny twig shapes just to get different angles, so you can use other things. When I was first taught, I was taught by a lady who came from Frederick Fox, and she'd actually made her hat from rocks, so she'd cast it from rocks. So she got paper mache, she'd put that over her rocks and created a shape. Then she plaster casted the whole chicken wire, so you put that over the rocks. Then she plaster casted the whole chicken wire piece, and then she had this undulating shape. And then she got her Cineme fabric and she put that on. We're going to go over Cineme later, don't worry if you don't know what that is. We're going to put the Cineme fabric, she puts the Cineme fabric on top of the chicken wire, and then that creates her shape, and she casts from that. So you can use other things, and it's really exciting and interesting to develop and just go over different shapes. Okay. So that is the end of the blocking lesson. Go on to your next one and I'll see you in there and we'll learn more. All right, thank you very much. Bye.